Morning. I hope you guys are doing well. This is a cooking vlog. Yes, we will be cooking on this video. Lots and lots of cooking, my kind of cooking anyway. So this is the ciabatta starter that I made with you guys on Saturday, and then I just took it out of the fridge and I'm going to set it aside, let it prove or get warm a little bit for an hour, and then take out my clean bowl. You can see it has grown a little bit. It didn't grow that much, but it has grown a little bit. And then in my bowl there I'm measuring 1¼ cup of lukewarm water as a start. That's not all that you're going to add. It is a start. And I also added 1 teaspoon of yeast into there, or 1½ teaspoon of yeast. It depends on you. And then I added 2 tablespoons of olive oil onto the mixture, making sure that, and then you stir it in. Obviously oil and water, guys, they don't mix, but you can just stir it in for the sake of stirring it in. And I know a lot of people would put their starter and mix it with the water, and I don't do that. My I add it to my yeast mixture, and then I measure my flour. So because I already have a flour, 1 cup in a starter, I'm not going to measure 4 cups. I'm going to measure 3 cups. Okay, I'm going to measure 3 cups and then add 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of salt into there, or 1/4 teaspoon of salt. It depends on how salty you want your ciabatta. So that's what I'm going to be doing. My dough was still a bit dry, so I measured 1/2 cup of the water again, and then I started adding it bit by bit. In the end, I ended up putting in plus or minus 1 cup, 3/4 and 3/4 cups of lukewarm water. The ciabatta shouldn't be too wet and it shouldn't be too dry. I think I've said this over and over, but the reason I'm doing this now is that I am showing you guys the correct way of doing it, because now always rob it, I always butcher it. I always take shortcuts or cut corners or whatever it is that you wanna call. But this is how your dough is supposed to look like. I don't know how to put it, but I think if you look at if you want to try it, you will look at my dough, and then you will see how it looks, and then you can tell how much water you are supposed to put in and all of that. And then in another clean bowl, you are going to add a little bit of oil onto that bowl, brush it around, or you can use your hand. I chose to use the brush, and then you're going to transfer your dough onto this bowl, and then cover it with a clean wrap and let it sit for an hour. Let it proof for an hour. This is after an hour. Then you're going to stretch the dough in a way that I will be stretching it, and then you have to at least apply what we call oil on the ciabatta. I think it's important to use oil more than the water, so that you don't increase the water that you had put into your dough. I think the oil is the best thing to do. You know, guys, as I was cooking this, I realized that I have finally unlocked a new favorite dress. Because, and then the fact that I have now to, especially during these days when I was cooking, I was literally when we take our clothes off, I will put them in a washing machine, in a dryer, and fold them, because I was trying to avoid that humidity and the dirty clothes, and so it was always available for me to wear. It was always available for me to wear, but it is so comfortable, it's not even funny. So this is the second fold. You're still going to repeat the same thing that you were doing the first time. Repeat it, lift and fold, lift and fold, and on the other part you will see that I ended up doing the slap and drop method, whatever it is that they call. I don't like it. I think it makes a lot of noise. I don't understand why I should be slapping my dough around, but I ended up doing that because the lift and fold, it seemed to be too, it I don't know, it was stretching too much. I had to lift and too far, and then it was creating a mess around the bowl. Yes. After 3 hours of the dough rising and then me stretching it, and it was now ready to be cut. It was ready to be cut, but first I'm going to take out biga to keep it in the fridge. So I took out this much, and I'm going to put it in a clean console, and then I'm gonna put it in a fridge. I will use it for the next bake. Depending, doesn't matter what I'm going to make, but that will be my starter that I'm going to keep in the fridge. Yes. So I'm just gently trying not to break the bubbles on my ciabatta, but trying to turn it into a triangle like this, turning it into a triangle so that I can cut my 3 loaves out. I'm going to cut my 3 loaves out, and every loaf is going to be baked in its own pan. So that's what I actually, I was proud of myself for not cutting corners, but because this one came out exactly like ciabatta. Sometimes cutting corners, it's not really good. But sometimes I'm just lazy to do all the steps of other things, and I just make something selling kore it works best for me, you know. And the reason I do things like this, so this was on a Monday, I was editing, and I cook things like this that doesn't really require me to be in front of the stove. I can just check on them for 5 minutes, and then I go back to my editing. So I was making ciabatta and making soup at the same time. My beef bones, I ended up adding the lentils. I had cooked lentils in the fridge that I had cooked for my biryani. I cooked a lot, so I put some in the fridge, and then I'm going to add them to my soup later. And after shaping them, let them sit for at least 45 minutes. But obviously the 20 minutes before the time lapses, you must but again, you must preheat your oven at 190 or 200 degrees depending on your oven, and then brown. This is it, my perfect ciabatta, and I was so happy with it. And yeah, it was delicious, man, and it came out exactly how I wanted it. When you slice it, the bubbles were there, everything was there, and then we had that with soup for dinner. This is another day, and I was making pasta and mince. I started with heating the oil onto my pot and then putting linguine onto boiling water with a little bit of salt and a little bit of oil. So, and then on the other pot, I was cooking minced meat. Never mind the color because it is so cold, it took time to defrost. So, I ended up having to put it in water, and we know what happens when you do that. So, I started by frying it in. In oil, and then I'm adding beef stock onto there. Previously, I have been asked why I always cook with high heat. High heat cooks good because nothing, like when you cook on low, everything that you cook starts um, drawing water out of your thing. Like you saw when I was using a low heat, what do you call, a small stove with low heat, my mince was getting had a lot of water compared to when you cook it on high heat. Start on high heat, then maybe reduce it. But my hot stove was the big one. I was using it for pasta. It's cooked now. Then I transferred it onto another. I drained it. It's on the other side. So after my mince has cooked, I took it out of the pan. I didn't brown it all the way through, or I didn't make it crisp because I am going to put it on in pasta. I still needed it to be somewhat meaty when I do that. Yes. Once the minced meat was out, I added onion in there, and I did add a little bit of oil just to increase the one that was on the pan already. Added paprika, added a mixture of cumin and coriander and a little bit of turmeric. I do love the taste of turmeric and the little color of it, but I don't like it too much because it has a tendency of overpowering other spices, you know. So yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it, but not too much. And then I was stirring that in. I think the method that I'm using, it is literally your, if I continue, this is the half a cup of pasta water. I took half a cup of pasta water before I drained the pasta, and then that's what I added it. That's what I added onto the pan, and then I proceeded into adding about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I was saying that if you are cooking any stew or any meat, this is the way to cook it. You first brown your meat, you take it out of the pan, and then you fry your onion, and you add other vegetables as well before you can put back your meat onto the pot. This is the step that you can use for your all kinds of meat that you're going to make a stew out of. And then I added a can of of tomato. I chopped it, but a can of tomato is equivalent to four chopped uh, tomatoes, medium sized tomatoes. And then I adjusted my seasoning with aromat. You can use salt if you don't like aromat, that's fine. I don't like the taste of salt. I always put too much or too small. I just don't know. I don't know how to cook with it. It's either it's aromate only or chicken stock or beef stock, those type of things. Yeah. This looks like a really nice relish. If you want, this could be your pap, or you can just make pap and eat with nama. Done. And then I added a heaping tablespoon of sour cream. This is optional. If you don't want it, you don't have to. But I think it always brings out the flavor or that small creamy taste onto the means and pasta. And then I added my means back onto the pan, stir it in. That's why I said I didn't want it to be too crispy, because I still needed to put it back onto there, and I wanted to taste that meaty flavor from it. When it's too crisp, sometimes I don't enjoy it on pasta. So for me, this is how I cook it. I fry it, I brown it, but I don't over brown it, if that makes sense. And then I added my linguine back onto the pan or into the pan, and then toss it in, making sure that everything is well combined, well coated, and I must say, this is a meal that you can literally prepare under 45 minutes max, and it tastes yummy, delicious. Theo's favorite food is pasta. Any kind of pasta my son will eat for you. As long as it tastes good, he will eat for you. And I thoroughly enjoyed this as well. It was very, 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 very delicious. Another day, another cooking. Remember that birra that we took out from the ciabatta? Now, this is the same birra that we are now going to. This is how it has risen. You can see, ne? Now we're going to do the same thing. It's still rainy, it's still cold. I'm still wrapping it with a dish towel and putting it on the counter there. And this is it after an hour. And then we're going to start mixing our focaccia. You know, I love focaccia because focaccia, it is a very versatile, very, very versatile. I had put about how do I put it? I think it's still 1 3/4 cup of water. Yeah, if you were to measure it, 1 3/4 cup of water, or let's just say 360 370 mils there, somewhere there. But it's 1 3/4 cups of lukewarm water. I always have an yeast that is open. I wish I knew. I wish I could buy yeast with a container, but hey, the one is costing me an arm and a leg. I don't think I'm the target market for it. But to be quite honest, let me not lie. I've never really looked at the price of it and compared the price thoroughly. I've always went with what I know, which is this brand of yeast. That's what I've always went with. Honestly speaking, I don't want to lie. So I'm putting 2 teaspoons of yeast onto the lukewarm water in a clean bowl, and then 2 tablespoons of olive oil onto there. Now, these things, the ciabatta and the focaccia, the recipe is the same, honestly speaking. And I can also say the recipe for baking honestly speaking, if we were to look at it, they're the same. It is the method that differentiate them. It is the kneading that differentiate them. It is the time that differentiate them. The texture of the dough, the amount of hydration meaning water, the amount of hydration that you put in. It is what makes the bread different, if we are being honest. So I have added the starter or bicha into the yeast mixture, and then I'm going to measure 3.5 cups on this one. Because I'm not sure of how much flour was in my bicha, I opted to put 3.5 cup of flour, and I added 2 teaspoons of salt in there. Mix it in. Now this one, the focaccia, it has to be very wet and sticky. It has to be very sticky. It is difficult to handle. You will see what I mean. But hence I say, in baking, the difference is how you are mixing your dough and how much hydration you are putting in your dough, in your flour, and how long are you making the are you preparing it or letting it ferment, the steps that leads up to that. That's what makes it a difference. So I have already put 500 mils of water into there, and then now I measured another cup. So I'm going to add bit by bit up until it gets to the point where I want it. First time I made a focaccia, I thought this can't be this, there's something wrong, I thought I cannot be. It's too sticky and but once you get used to it and then understand the difference, you will get it. So after mixing it, you can't do anything with it. You can't knead it, you can't even touch it. Let it rest, let it prove for an hour, and this is after an hour. You will see it's still sticky. It's still sticky. The first fold, it's still sticky on the hands. Use oil as well. Can you see how sticky it is? And you can see that the gluten hasn't developed that. Yeah, it hasn't developed yet. But you have to stretch and fold it still. As sticky as it is, you still have to stretch and fold it. The oil makes it easy. People put water onto their hands, but I think the oil is better. Can you see how jiggling it is? This is after another hour. It's jiggling and it looks bubbly. That's how we want it. That's how we want it. And by the looks of it, it's starting to get smoother. The gluten is starting to develop and guys, I am sharing this with you guys so that we can master the art of making our own food. We can try and cut the cost, and we can also try and control the things that we put in our bodies. um I know there has been quite a few people that says, why don't you open your own bakery, da 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 da. Running a business is too risky. Running a business can take you from your comfort to your discomfort, because I do not have a capital for those things. And if I start a business, I would have to use some of the assets that we have as collateral. to put in a way that I can be able to access the funds. I'm not about to jeopardize our comfort for business, and this is business for me. Me sharing with you guys, so this is the business that I'm doing. And I'm hoping that you also take whatever it is that I'm doing and do it at home, cutting the cost, especially bread baking. It's something that you can cut the cost with. It's something that you can make. It's something that doesn't require a lot of work. So this is after another hour, and then I started by lining my pan with a baking paper, and then I am adding olive oil. Now here's the thing, you need to add a little bit more olive oil onto this. Ne? I didn't have enough, but I still wanted to make focaccia. So I used what I had. And once again, guys, I'm going to stretch and fold, and I'm still going to take out biha from this. I'm still going to take out biha from this. When we say, someone will say, my biha is a year old, they are telling the truth. But you would not understand when they say my biha is a year old. It's because every time when you bake, you take biha out of your dough and then you put it in a clean jar and put it in a fridge. The day that you're going to use, you'll take it out, let it sit on the counter, let it get warmed a little bit, and then you start baking with it. And then after that, you then transfer the entire dough onto the pan. This is 1 pan equivalent. Right or yang. And then you're going to let it sit on the counter again for another hour. So the total preparation of the ciabatta and the focaccia, it's plus or minus 4 hours. But you are not only doing that, you are doing other things as well. You are doing other things as well. So while it was proving for the last time in a pan, I went ahead to cut the onion. The reason I love focaccia is that you can use any topping of your choice. You can use sliced olives, you can use cheese. Like now I'm using onion and mozzarella and cheddar. You can use spinach and feta. You can use bacon if you're eating bacon and cheese, or bacon and onion, whichever way that you like. You can do that, or you can do sun-dried tomatoes. You can even put sun-dried tomatoes inside. So this is after an hour of it proving, covered with another pan so that it does not stick. I think if you do the dish cloth, it's going to stick, or the, what do we call, or the cling wrap, it will stick. So you will still need to put more. You'll still need to put more olive oil on top. And then the nice thing about this, you don't have to lift it, ruin the bubbles, and you won't have to do that. So now I did add a little bit of oil again onto my hands, and then I went ahead and started doing this. Yeah, I don't know what I'm creating here, but can you see the bubbles? Can you see them bubbles? That's so beautiful. Guys, baking is an art. Baking is an art. You can now add your toppings on there, and then you're going to put it in an oven. Let it cook up until it golden brown, and then it will be ready to be served. while the focaccia was baking in an oven, I was now finishing up my dinner. The meat was already boiling on the side, so I was frying onions on the side. I was making beef and onion noodles. Beef and onion noodles. If you don't like chunky onions, cut them small, but I liked them this way. So my meat was boiling on the side. It was boiling away, and then I was frying the onion, and then I took it out of the pot, cut it in small pieces, and then while all that was going, and then I was cooking the noodles as well. It's very important to sieve your broth. This was not a clear broth. It is seasoned with a lot of things. It wasn't a clear broth, no, but it was still broth. So once I sieved it, I went ahead and added it onto the onions. I didn't wait for my onions to caramelize. I still wanted I wanted them visible. I still wanted to see them, but you can caramelize them if you want. I didn't want to. So I added mushroom dark soy sauce, a little bit, not too much, a little bit just for the color. If you don't like it, don't put it. So I added a little bit of the mushroom dark soy sauce onto there, stir that in, but I felt like it needed a little bit of a kick, and I added vinegar. I added vinegar. I didn't have rice vinegar, so I added normal black vinegar. Stir that in, and basically it was ready at this point. And then the one thing that was missing for me to do was the noodles. And here is my focaccia from the oven. Guys, if you not put into what we call, put lots of oil on your pan if you're not going to use baking paper, because it is gonna stick to your pan. Even on the baking paper, make sure you put oil, right? Enough oil. Focaccia, it is very nice when it has that oil. And then after baking it, brush it a little bit more again with oil, and it's ready, guys. It's ready. With just this, we had lunch for the following day. Lunch. we're going to dish up, put our meat and then the broth in there, and I also sprinkled mine with chili flakes, and it was yummy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope to see you on my next video. Don't forget to like, comment and share, and please come back next time, and don't forget my rose emoji in the comment section. Bye.